What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is June 25th, 2024, and it's 4:04 in the afternoon. The market is closed. Let me first start out by saying today's chart wasn't the easiest to trade at all. We had Qs on the move to the upside. We had ADD for the good portion of the day on the move to the downside. And it was interesting. However, with a little bit of patience, which I severely lack, I always admit that I lack the patience, there were quite a few good, clean trades to take if we just waited for them to show themselves with all the right reasons, right? And with the right reasons is we're looking for confluence across the market. I.e., when ADD is moving up and Qs are moving up, we want to buy calls on pullbacks at resistance or support levels, hoping for us to continue up to the resistance that it came from. Likewise to the downside. Okay, so in the beginning, we didn't have confluence between ADD and the Qs, but then slowly, as often happens throughout the day, they will start to line up with each other many times, and then that's when trading becomes a lot more fun, a lot more comfortable, and seemingly a lot easier, but certainly more profitable. But without further ado, let's go ahead and launch today's chart, which was disgusting in pre-market. So SPY this morning's pre-market was gross. I was struggling to find a pre-market low line. When we were doing this charting at 8:30 this morning, there wasn't much volume. It was very gappy. There wasn't a whole lot of touches to find support resistance levels. It was a rough pre-market. And because of what seemed to be low volume, we were a lot more conservative with our call put lines. Now, the one thing that I need to remind people constantly of, because it's very easy to forget, and I'm speaking to the members who are in my community that trade with me every single day. Guys, stop playing the call and put scenario if you're not willing to play by the rules. But what do I mean by that? Well, it's very simple. And I say it every day. Every day I say it. Multiple times per day. If we cross the call line, always check your Qs to make sure that they're not at resistance. If the Qs are at resistance, I don't care if we cross the call line on SPY. You have to wait for that resistance on the Qs to not be a potential problem. You have to. You do not play the call scenario just because we cross the line unless the Qs have room to move up. Same thing with the put scenario. We had people buy puts because we closed below the put line. Well, look at 937 on the Qs. What was happening? We weren't touching, like breaking through. We were sitting on our first resistance low on the Qs. This had been here for an hour prior to the day starting. We knew that this level existed. We don't buy puts on SPY when Qs are on support. You have to wait for this to either close below it or it's not near it, because we don't know if that support is going to hold or not. What you don't want to do is get into a position in hope that support is not going to hold, right? You don't buy puts when Qs are on support hoping that it fails. If there's room, because let's just say Qs were breaching or closing below this support here, and then they had another 50-cent potential drop ahead of them, then you can take the put scenario on SPY. But not when it's already on the line. There's no room left. You cannot take that trade. Okay? Now, as we were looking at taking a position here, we broke through support on SPY. We also broke through support, or actually got below our pre-market midline and turned it into resistance on the Qs. Okay? That played a role in determining whether we should take puts sooner than the put line. Okay? The thought process was, if the Qs continue to hold resistance here, and ADD is continuing to do anything that resembles sorry, this, i.e. a downtrend or a violent move to the downside, I'm okay playing pullbacks to resistance. Okay, we had resistance on the Qs, we had resistance on SPY, and if anything, we were able to take profit at the Qs or at the support line down here. Okay, not only is SPY hitting support here at this time, Qs are hitting support here at this time. Now, the reason that there's a circle on the green candle is because we closed below the put line. Okay, now at this time, I'm hoping that because we closed below that line, that we're able to move down to the next line. That's typically how I look at it. However, we knew the Qs were on support. What we didn't know was whether the Qs were going to close below that support. Well, they didn't. So what we have to say is if the Qs can't make it through that support, put a stop loss in profit so that if it holds support on the Qs and it pulls SPY in the other direction, we still made equal profit to what we could have had we just gotten in at resistance and out at support. Okay, I always say this to you guys, and there's inevitably somebody who refuses to consider putting their stop losses at break even or somewhere in profit, even though we've made it from one line to the next, because they're afraid of stopping out before a big move happens after that happens. Yes, that will happen. Yes, it's happened to all of us as traders. But you cannot put yourself at risk of taking a massive loss, especially having been profitable in that trade, out of the fear that you might leave money on the table. You cannot do that. And I watch people do it every single day. Guys, let me tell you my rule of thumb. If I'm in a trade, which I was in this trade, I told you guys I was taking a trade. If we pulled back to resistance here and Qs were at resistance as well, I'm going in. Okay? We got it. I took it. We made it right down to our next line. We were all in profit at that point. All of us. We talk about the idea that Qs are on support, so please consider taking profits. Now, because we closed below this line, I tell everybody, tighten up your stop losses, put them in profit so that we can take advantage of the move if it continues down, but you're protected if it doesn't. And that's exactly what I did. I had a stop loss in place. It stopped me out shortly after we failed to break support on the Qs. Am I upset? No. Why? Because I didn't make any extra money, but I also didn't lose what I would have made had I just taken profits when we got to that line in the first place. That trade right there ended up being a 19% win. Not a huge winner, but it worked out. Okay, we pull back, we chop along. Now Qs and ADD very shortly after this started to go in completely opposite directions. ADD started to sell off and continued to do so all day until after lunch. And Qs were moving up all day, right? That's going to make for a choppy SPY chart. All right. But if we get here at 9:55 and go to the Qs, okay, we see that Qs have broken their downtrend. So puts came off the table until there was a reason to consider taking puts, right? Once again, the same resistance we were buying at here, we recognized a lower high. We tell everybody at this point, this is a lower high. I wouldn't expect support to hold, meaning I wouldn't buy calls here. But if you're interested in puts, understand it's a counter trend trade. We're looking to move down to the next support on the Qs. Well, where is that? Well, you would like to think and hope that it's the blue line. Now, we did get to that blue line very briefly, but the real support is right here. This support. Okay? So you got to tell yourself, well, is getting in a move that's going to give me potentially from 476.16 down to 475.89 enough of a move? Now for me, that's more than 20 cents. So yeah, that's enough of a move. Okay? But if you don't believe it's enough of a move, you don't take the trade. But what you got to do is in a counter trend trade, expect to take profits when you get to your first level of support. In this case, because we're trending up, you're buying a pullback. Basically, we expect pullbacks to run to support and bounce up if they're going to continue the uptrend. This is why we don't hold on to these trades for long. Okay, so that happens at 9:55. You get in, we stayed below resistance, and then we got down to support at 9:59. Now, what was cool about that is that we were cheering for that move to happen before 10 o'clock. We don't like to hold our trades through 10 o'clock. Okay, the 10 o'clock candles are often horrible if you try to hold through them. Sometimes they're lifesavers, but in this case, it was fun actually. We're like, come on, Steve. Now, I'm not going to get into who Steve is, but Steve plays a major role in a lot of things that we do. But we'll talk about Steve later. But anyway, we got in because Qs came off of a lower high. We just needed them to break support. If they broke that support, they're likely to move down to the next support. Same thing with SPY. It broke support with the help of the Qs and ADD. We were able to move down to and get right to what we wanted to get right before 10 o'clock, in which case it tore off to the upside. So we're super happy we got out of that trade in time. Once again, just like this one was, this was a 19.5% winner. For me, that was the end of the day, okay? Which sucks because we found some really clean moves to take later in the day that would have paid very, very well and did pay very many people very well. But with that said, we bottomed out, we start moving up. At this point, people are like, Jimmy, Qs are coming off of higher lows and higher highs. Would you buy calls when SPY is on support? I said, yeah. I mean, we don't know if it's going to work, but what we do know is that the Qs are trending up. ADD at the time was trying to print some green candles. Sure, let's consider the calls here. Where are we looking to go? To the next line up. Okay, now at 10:15, Qs, 10:13 rather, Qs were getting up to their line of resistance as well. So the Qs had broken up, made new highs for the day, pulled back during an uptrend. Qs and SPY were on support during an uptrend. We're looking to go to the next resistance. And that's exactly what it did. You got to take advantage of a very clean move to the upside. Simple. We pull back, it gets a little choppy. And then once again, we're considering counter trend trades. So at 10:41, we are at resistance again on the Qs, except this time we're coming off of lower highs. The same situation as before. We're coming off lower highs. I do expect support to fail, not to hold. Okay, so we talk about this at 10:41. Or 10:41, we got the lower high. So at 10:42, we're considering, hey, if you're trying to play a counter trend trade, all we need is Qs to break through the support, which it's likely to do because we're coming off of a lower high in relation to this. ADD is still trending down at this particular time, if I'm not mistaken. So at 10:41, so ADD is still trending down. That didn't change until, like I said, just after lunch. So we're playing with the majority of the market moving down, which is ADD, and we're waiting for Qs to give us a sign that it might pull back or break support. That's how we're able to get into some of these trades a little bit more aggressively. Well, it comes off of a lower high. We enter at 10:42. I didn't, but this is what we're looking at. SPY's at resistance. Let's play it down. Where are we trying to get to? Well, we're trying to get down to Q's support, which is down here. Okay, that happens at 10:53, which is right here on this wick. Okay, so we got through support, made it down to the next support. Consider taking your profits in a counter trend trade. Okay, and then we break this particular downtrend on the Qs, and it starts to make a nice move to the upside. It's at this time that we're considering calls again. Now, at 11:10, what was happening on the Qs? Qs had just pulled back to support, coming off of higher lows. What we're hoping for is that the higher lows mean that the resistance is likely to fail, not hold. We talk about this all the time. We also follow it up with, just because it's a higher low does not mean it's going to break resistance. Please take these trades at your own risk. Here's your higher low at 1110. SPY at the time was on support at 1110 right here. It's a support we talked about before we even got down to it. And we're looking to ride it up. Where are we looking to ride it to? Well, we're looking for the Qs to take us to their next lines of resistance, whether it's this one here, which we touched at 1113 and then quickly gapped up above it, or this one up here, 1117. Doesn't matter. 1113 brought you to SPY's high of resistance here. If you stayed in it because, well, you could have a stop loss to protect you, this move takes you all the way up here. Guys, that ended up being a 60+% return. 60+%, depending on when you got in. Some people waited till we cleared this resistance here before they took it on SPY. Still, nice clean move to the upside. Okay? And then this one here. This one here was when things were slowing down. We were talking about Qs being at resistance and SPY being at resistance, and that we would be hoping for this move to come down to this support here, or on the Qs, you know, down to this support here. It did exactly that, but that wasn't the greatest trade because it was a lot of sideways consolidation for not a lot of return. Shortly after that, I went to lunch, and of course, when I go to lunch, SPY always does silly things like move clean to the downside, while Qs move clean to the downside, and it's at the bottom of all this that SPY and Qs, ADD and Qs start to rotate in the other direction. So you could see right here on ADD and on the Qs that we had already started to make our V-shaped recovery on the day, and that's when calls started to be the things we wanted to look for more consistently, and puts come off the table, right? So again, while Qs are trending up, while Qs are trending up, and ADD is trending up, we want to be looking for reasons to get into calls. All right? Now, this whole thing, I didn't get back from lunch until about 1:20 because I had to pick up my daughter from art camp. We broke through resistance. We're looking for the same things we always look for, guys. Higher lows, break through resistance, looking for the move to continue up to the next resistance. Okay, it wasn't until this one here where I felt comfortable enough to suggest calls because, again, when I come back from lunch, I missed a move to the downside. I missed a portion of the reversal, but we recognized that, hey, ADD's chart is moving up. Qs are moving up. Let's find a good entry, late day trade that I don't take myself. This right here, this trade right here was a Qs pullback to support during an uptrend. ADD still printing green. SPY pulling back to support on an uptrend, holding an uptrend line, looking for the move to continue up. Where were we looking for it to go? 229, right here on the Qs. This line right here. Okay? It's exactly what it did. Do you know what this returned? From entry to exit was 100+%. And I know that because one of our members got in on this candle at 227 because he wanted to make sure that we cleared the resistance of the time. And this was a 52% win for him. Guys, this was one of the cleanest moves on the chart. It felt the best because everything was moving up by this time. Look at Qs were already trending up. ADD was already trending up. SPY was already trending up. Literally. Everything was moving in your favor. That's confluence. We want to trade with the confluence, not against it. Perfect setup, perfect trade, ended up being a banger of a trade. All right. And then, and that was pretty much it. I don't like to trade late day. I don't trade late day typically. And I don't like to suggest trades late day unless we're taking out or creating new levels, right? Once we get above the day's support and resistance levels, even if it's late in the day, well, then we have new, fresh, clean areas of potential movement, right? Because there is nothing on the day that says, hey, if we break this resistance here, we're going to stop here. In fact, my next SPY line was all the way up here at 545.10, but we were respecting the Q's resistances, okay? Which is why we were suggesting taking profits at that time. Late in the day, you can't stomach through pullbacks like this. They hurt too much. So if you're going to take late day trades, especially with same day expirations, you better be considering taking your profits sooner than later, right? That was a beautiful move to the upside, paid very, very well. And all you need to do is catch a couple of those per day, even one per day. You can make a really good living. Okay? And what we needed to do for most of these trades is wait for confluence. Some of them were counter trend trades, but still involved confluence. But what you really want to see is uptrends on ADD, uptrends on Qs, and then you want to, because if that's happening, SPY is going to be moving up. And if ADD and the Qs are trending down, SPY is going to be trending down. If ADD and Qs are going in the opposite direction, SPY is going to be chopping sideways, most likely. One of those two factors, ADD or Qs, may have a little bit more influence over the other, meaning we might be chopping and consolidating sideways, but kind of moving very slowly in one direction to the other on SPY. But when ADD and Qs are going in opposite directions of each other, SPY is like stuck in the middle. Okay, it doesn't know which way to go because it's telling you small caps are going one way and your tech is going the other way. Large caps are going the other direction. Okay, they're fighting against each other. But when they both decide to move together in the same direction, SPY is going to be going in that direction. Okay, it's going to. It doesn't have a choice. Pay attention to this kind of stuff. We do our best to try and point it out when it's happening. I'm doing my best to try and keep you out of trades that I think are going to be tough wins, meaning you can counter trend trade. There are people who counter trend trade, but it's very difficult to be good at that and consistent. Okay, especially if you're not quick or you lack the discipline to take what it's willing to give. You're basically playing pullbacks when you take counter trend trades. Okay, I would much prefer teach you how to buy the pullback and play with the direction of the entire market. That's the more comfortable way to trade. It doesn't feel comfortable at first because I'm saying, hey, buy calls while we're printing red coming down to a line of support. I understand that creates a lot of hesitation for people, and that's where the biggest problem is. You're going to hesitate to buy calls while we're moving against yourself, right? While SPY is moving backwards. I'm saying, hey, we're trending up. We're going to come to support. We don't know if that support's going to hold or not, but we're going to look at the Qs and we're going to look at ADD and use them as a gauge to decide whether it's worth taking this risk or not. Well, if they're both moving in the same direction, i.e. up, and the Qs are on a support line just like the SPY are, you got to take that try. You have to. You've got to give the chart the benefit of the doubt, not what you want to happen. You cannot let your fears dictate your trades or what trades you skip, because the market doesn't have feelings and it doesn't care about your feelings. Okay? We're just trying to take calculated risks, not willy-nilly risks. We're not trying to gamble here. There is a way to increase your odds of winning the trades you take. There are a bunch of people out there that think that trading is a 50-50 chance. And yes, every trade has the potential to not work. But I disagree in the fact that you cannot, if you're telling me every trade is a 50-50 chance, then you're telling me there is no way to stack the odds in your favor that your trade has a higher potential of winning than losing. I don't sign up to that. I disagree wholeheartedly with that. And I say that because we talk about these trades before they happen, and then they work most of the time, like way more than most of the time, like 80, 90% plus. Okay? So to say that that's luck this often is bullshit. You just have to be patient and you got to know what to look for. And that's what we strive to teach you in this community. I'm not a call out service. But I could certainly tell you when things are likely to happen and when they do, what the result is typically going to be. Not guaranteeing anything. But we're playing odds and statistics here. Okay? Here's another statistic for you. It's not the highest win rate, but typically speaking, your 350 candle, okay? If it closes green, statistically, SPY closes above that body close of that 350 candle. So we had a green candle close, SPY closed above it. If this is a red candle close, SPY typically closes below it. Now, is it a high enough win rate to play it? I don't think so, but people play it. And in this case, they would have won. Okay? So there are things that are setups for better potential wins, okay? For cleaner moves. But if you wait, if you hesitate on too many trades, a lot of the things, you're waiting for confirmation that your trade is going to work. And unfortunately, a lot of the times that confirmation means the move's already happened, but you don't accept that. So you get into the trade a minute, 2 minutes late because now it feels right to buy now because it's proving to hold support and it's bouncing off in the right direction. Now it's safe to buy calls. But then you're completely ignoring the fact that you're sitting at resistance now. So you're trying to buy calls at a point where we should be taking profit on the calls already. Guys, it's very difficult to be comfortable buying pullbacks. But you've got to learn. And the only way you're going to learn is by trusting the chart. Okay? Play a small position size. Play with money that means nothing to you until you condition yourself to learn to trade that way. Otherwise, you're going to be constantly late to your trades. You're going to be hesitating too much and you're going to leave money on the table, or you're just going to flat out lose on a lot of these trades. Scared money doesn't make money. And we're not gambling in here. We're taking calculated risks. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. I hope you guys found some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, we'd love to have you. Right now, we're in the middle of our quarterly discount on our annual plan that makes it equivalent of $50 a month if you pay in advance. The code for that is TD 2024 Q2. Okay, so if you go to checkout, and this is more for our community members, if you go to checkout, put that coupon code in there, apply it, and we'll make your annual cost of being in the community $600, which is equivalent to $50 a month. And that's pretty much it. So I don't know. Did you guys already like, share, and subscribe? If you didn't, please do so. And then join our community. Use the 7 days for free and see if there's helpful information in there for you. You don't have to become a paying member. It's okay. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you all had a fantastic day today. Till tomorrow, I love you guys. See you.